now say the floor is open for questions. If you could talk up, and I'll try and pass this around to the people.
Okay. Yes. And I'm not sure who is going to answer this question best, but the food that we get into our supermarkets in New Zealand, is it genetically modified, or what's the status of compared to organic food? Because you talked a lot about food in America, but you said we're GM-free here.
GM-free in the environment.
Oh, we're GM-free in our environment. So everything grown in New Zealand is GM-free, not glyphosate-free necessarily. However, we do have 84 approved GMOs coming into the processed foods. They are being imported through the importation. We also have a very high level of animal feed, and the animal feed is not labelled. The labelling law is you have to label if GMOs are over the 1% threshold. Anything under is called adventitious. However, there are exemptions for oils, sugars, and highly processed foods, as well as foods that are not packaged. So if you go to Benin, you may find that the soybeans and the corn and all that could be GMO. We did ask that Molenbeek bread, a lot of the prepared breads have got soy in. We wrote that I got the 0800 number, so this is something worth doing, and said, please could you tell us all about the soy? And they have just come back and said it's less than 1%. So I didn't think about it, but I think they mean it's less than 1% GMO, so we don't need to label. I think we need to just tease out that. So anybody, if you can ring the 0800 number and ask, what is the level of soy in your food and is it GMO? And I'll get back to you.
Clear.
Sorry.
Just one thing on the 84 different food lines that have been approved. Not all of them will be in our food. They've been approved in case food is contaminated with them. That means that food will be legal. But there will be a big chunk. There might be 40 or 50 of those food lines that are coming in with imported foods, say from the States that are already processed in terms of corn chips and the likes. We're not importing a lot of corn from the US, but we do import product. But then we do import a huge amount of soy into New Zealand from the US or South America. And so there's a whole range of different soy food lines. Or the canola oil that Claire mentions that doesn't have to be labelled. The canola in New Zealand comes from Canada. It's GE. Anyway, back to the
100%.
other people.
Can I just say, I've done some reading last year on, although we have the limits of over 1% it should be labelled, what I had read was the last testing they did was in 2003. They found that food in the supermarket, 30% of it had over that 1% of GE food in it, ingredients in it. None of it was labelled. There was no follow-up done. It was dropped, and no testing has been done since.
So there is no testing.
Speed limit is 50 k's, putting no one out there to monitor it. It doesn't happen. No one's checking what's coming in. There is GE in our food.
Can I just make a couple of observations? One is thank you for coming. I'd like to make a couple of things really clear. Is that New Zealand keeps selling itself as a green image, pure green. Don't forget that Agent Orange, which is a disruptor, was made here in this country. It was designed and made and poisoned all of Vietnam, and it's now been poisoning all over South America. So if you buy any food from South America, you can be guaranteed that if it hasn't been sprayed with glyphosate, it's been sprayed with Agent Orange. The other thing is that today on the national program, I heard a scientist say that the TB problem that is, by the way, not caught from living opossums, it's actually caught from dying opossums by our cattle, It's such a problem now that the poison that they're dropping in our rivers and in our forests and killing our deer and our native birds and flora and fauna all throughout this beautiful, clean, green country. Our waterways are being poisoned with this stuff.
Could you ask the question? I'll tell you why it's
I'm
just
coming
we
because
don't
this is
have
an
these
important thing.
Can we talk about it when we've done a question?
This is a question.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, sorry, I'm just coming to it. Because I want these people to ask the question of themselves and of everyone. They're now talking about a genetically modified cattle in New Zealand to make them resistant to TB. They found that if they put mice gene inside our cattle, that has anyone else heard of this, or am I all on my own?
No, that was announced as a possibility in some studies recently. I don't know the details, but that is being proposed.
It was being
Again, what we're seeing here is what chemicals do and the genetic engineering does in agriculture is to cover up symptoms. It fails to acknowledge the root causes of the problems that are endemic in industrialized agriculture around the world, and all it does is try to cover up the symptoms. So that's not only genetically engineering our crops, but also even genetically engineering animals, poultry, pigs, cows. All of this is in the pipeline.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Good question. Okay.
A while ago I read a book about cancer and stuff, and there was a polio vaccine in America and it causes cancer and it's passed down now through generations and stuff. Do you believe that this will be something as well, like what we're eating now as mums has had effect on our children when they grow up now? And is it reversible, like with going organic for our children now? Will it help prevent what I ate?
Excellent point. You may remember during my presentation I mentioned this phenomenon called epigenetics, which is what globally controls the function of the genes within DNA. It turns out that changes in our epigenetics as an adult, for example, in pregnancy especially, that can then take place also in the developing fetus. These epigenetic changes, which were once thought to just stop with the adult, actually can be passed down the generations. So any alterations in the epigenetic status in one generation, in other words, just to say it again, can be passed down the generations. And sometimes these effects can skip a generation, so it may not be the children that are affected by the epigenetic change, but the grandchildren with illnesses such as predisposition to certain cancers, because we now know that epigenetics disturbance rather than direct DNA damage is equally, if not more, of an important contributor to cancer formation or obesity as well. Now, the good message from that, there are two good messages from that really to take. The one key one that gives us hope is that unlike the genes that we inherit, which we're stuck with, we can't change those, epigenetics is dynamic. It's responding constantly to internal and external stimuli, responding for better or worse depending on what it is that we're exposed to, what diet, what lifestyle, what behavior, psycho-emotional status. All of these are impacting through epigenetic media, impacting on our gene function for better or worse through altering the epigenetic layer of control. What that means is that if, unknowingly or knowingly, depending on what it is, we've disturbed our epigenetics and things have gone off kilter and predisposing us to an illness, we're not stuck with it. With the right lifestyle intervention, we've heard a lot from Michelle tonight about the kinds of lifestyle interventions that we can bring in with eating, good, clean, pure diets at their basis, can lead to better health because the epigenetics can be reset. And so that is the hope that it brings. It also brings great responsibility The knowledge of epigenetics throws a great deal of responsibility back on ourselves, because depending on how I treat not only myself, but my family, that's going to affect their gene expression patterns for better or worse. So it brings great responsibility, but at the same time it brings great hope, because we know we can change the epigenetics and rebalance our gene function, bringing us back to health.
I just want to add to that, this is why I realized it's not enough for my family to eat organic. Because my son's future spouses are out there somewhere. Right? Maybe even here, they're coming to visit. So who knows, right? And we want our children to be able to experience the profound love that it is to be able to have one's own child, if they wish to. You know, when I found out the third generations of rats that ate GMOs were sterile, there was a huge light bulb that went off. You know, so it's important for not just for our families to eat organic as much as we can, but for all families to do so.
Just one more point regarding your question. Back home as integrated docs, we recommend a prenatal clean-out. So prior to conception, for 3 to 6 months, we do a generalized clean-out, and depends on the health of the couple, to make sure that we clean all this stuff out. But if you already have a kid, it's not too late to do a clean-out. And there are various detoxification methods that we use, and they're successful. What I didn't mention in my depressing talk was that about 80 to 90% of my patients get better, including autism. Totally reversible, with some clauses. But these diseases, these chronic diseases that we talked about, can be treated successfully.
Do you have information that we can read from New Zealand on your clinic for how we can help our children? Do you have like some information, something that I could give my 8-year-old daughter to see if I could?
What a great idea. That's my plain homework. There are sites and there are books about how you do this. We're going to have to talk, and I'll have to tell you some things. It's not condensed, like, oh yeah, this is the book you go to. It's in various locations and references, but that is something I think I'm going to work on. That's not the topic of the book I'm writing, but I think you're absolutely right, and that's what we need to do. Thank you very much.
But it's not one size fits all, though. As she mentioned, there's kids with different types of deficiencies that need different things. You didn't mention this, though, but some kids, like with pickiness, and when she puts zinc in, they as a deficiency, they start to be less picky. You know, so it really depends on the kid. But number one, eat organic, put the raw organic sauerkraut and different probiotics in their foods. Really, you will start seeing huge changes just in that.
Yeah.
If you start there. Yes, this gentleman had his hand up for one.
Thank you very much. It's it's all very informative, but we've got two levels of action. One is what we can do ourselves, and the other is in relationship to the system, so the systemic problem. And in regard to the systemic problem, those in the system are attempting to make the problem even worse. And so the idea of GMOs being equivalent to conventionally grown food and organics will be, if you like, institutionalised under the multilateral free trade agreements that are being negotiated between the USA and the Pacific nations in TPP, and the USA and the European nations in TTIP. And the large corporations are the ones that have most of the say in that, and it's not just in respect to GMOs, but in a whole host of other areas, including the property, the intellectual property that you guys produce, right, and share with us about, not just about health matters, but in all sorts of other areas, is going to become a lot more expensive for us to purchase here in New Zealand. Also, our rules in respect to labelling will go out the window.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? They will go out the window. And we will not know at all what's going on in respect to the food that we get from supermarkets or from the corporations. So sure, we can go into our individual little holes and grow our own veggies and all the rest of it, but if we don't have green thumbs, right, we're reliant on a system which is going to be poisoning us. And the rules that are going to be agreed will be made so that we can't do anything about it, unless we do something now.
Yes,
right?
it's coming up right now. Let's give people a website to go to, Claire. Is it just expose the TPP or expose TT?
Here locally, it's ourfuture.org.nz.
Okay, everybody get that? So what he's talking about is an international trade agreement, which is being proposed right now in the next 2 or 3 weeks, which is written by 600 corporations. And in America, they're trying to fast track it and push it through without the Senate and the Congress even being able to look at it. And it makes things like GMO labeling a barrier to free trade. So they will eliminate that. And anything else which can be perceived as a barrier to free trade, like, if, for instance, comparing organics to conventional food and somehow even insinuating that organic is better, will go away. Also, we would be importing medicines from other countries, and God knows what would be in that. It wouldn't have to be labeled. A lot of your internet rights would go away, a lot of jobs would go away. It is basically an entire global oligarchy, right? Corporatocracy.
It's a theft of our sovereignty.
And your national rights and your national economy will be completely compromised. So it's the most patriotic thing that you can do is to call your council members or your representatives, whatever that is, and tell them you do not want this. It is not a good deal for local people.
Thank you.
Can I just add to that? And add, if you like, tomorrow at 2:30, right, there is a meeting at Greerton Hall, so Cameron Road, is it?
Yep.
Cameron Road. And I, Greg, will speak to whoever's there about what we can do about TPP here in New Zealand. And I've been working around the countryside talking to lots of different people, most recently in Napier and Gisborne, but we've got councils in Wellington that are supporting a public interested resolution. In fact, we've got now 7 councils that have supported this resolution, but I won't say too much more. Tomorrow, 2:30 at Greerton Town Hall.
I'd like to make one more point about something in California that my mom's group just did. In January in California, in our government, they decided they were going to pass a law that they could spray for any perceived threat at any time. Any pesticide, any time.
And they passed it.
No, they didn't. Because we filed an injunction, our mom's group, and it didn't pass. Because we filed a lawsuit against the state of California. Now, I'm not implying that you can do that here in New Zealand, in your political situation. It's different in California. But my mom's group, 5 of us, 5 women, 1 kitchen table, lots of coffee. And I'm not a lawyer. Our mom's group leader is a lawyer, so we're kind of lucky in that regard. But we found a lawyer to do pro bono work, aka her husband, and we filed it. And it's pending, and we put a hold on it. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be successful, but this is what's happening in our own state. So when I hear that we can't do anything, we tried, and I'm not implying the laws are here the same. I'm not so naive, but this is what we did, and that's what we're doing, and that's what we continue to try and do to jam up the system while we reorganize and re-strategize.
The lady in the blue.
Right. You spoke about the gluten and then the glyphosate that they put on the wheat to make it dry and faster. Now, if you separate the two, if you take organic gluten in isolation, is the gluten without the chemicals bad for you, just the plain gluten, or is it the glyphosate that makes the gluten bad?
Right, the question is, does the glyphosate make the gluten bad?
Yeah.
So if you already have a leaky gut from having had damage from already non-organic food or whatever else is going on, and you are now gluten sensitive, and even if you eat organic gluten, you can still react, even though the glyphosate has not been applied to the organic gluten because your gut is already impaired. So you may need to come off it temporarily, heal the gut lining, rebalance your microbiome, and then you may be able to eat it again if you have gluten sensitivity, but not the celiac gluten sensitivity.
If you have a healthy gut to start with.
You should be able to tolerate gluten just fine. When I test children in my office, I do sensitivity and look to see if they have a leaky gut. I do test. You know, I can almost tell by taking the history and the exam of the patient, but I'll do testing. I do testing on about 95% of my patients. I look at immune function in their gut. I look at celiac biomarkers. I look at mold sensitivities. I look at environmental toxicities. I look at the gene profile of the microbes in their gut. I look at the digestive enzymes. I look for inflammatory markers in their stool, and I make very intelligent decisions based on what I find.
Thank you.
And now you're all going to move to California so she can be a doctor, right? Well, I didn't know any of this when I had my children. I didn't have a doctor like this, and I didn't know any of this science. So, you don't have to have a doctor like this. You can start taking on these steps yourself. But you can also encourage your doctors to find out this information and to be doctors like this. It's only going to take people like you to demand this kind of service and care from your doctors.
Okay, one more question.
How confident can we be that food that's labelled organic truly is organic? I'm asking about America, and then I'd love someone in New Zealand.
In America, yeah, that's a good question, because the contamination is really quite bad in America right now, and it allows up to 5% of GMO contamination in organic, and that's randomly tested. Now, we have non-GMO Project Verified in America, which only allows 0.9%. So the gold seal in America is to get non-GMO Project Verified and organic, because organic means no pesticides, but non-GMO Project Verified doesn't mean no pesticides. It just means less than 0.9% of organic. So now here, because you're not growing GMO crops, you don't have to worry so much about contamination. But in the U.S., it's very severe. In Australia, Steve Marsh is fighting a legal battle now around that. So it's very important, and we have to stand for that. That's why we're asking for GMO-free zones, and for you guys to have a GMO-free country. We really need you to continue to stand for that and not allow it in. It's a really crucial time now. There's a lot of pressure being put down on your city councilmen. You need to tell your city council members that you don't want it. In the United States, they have 20 lobbyists every day pounding the pavement in the White House, getting paid $20,000 a month to tell our officials that this is a good thing. We need moms out there on force. Really.
Certified organic in New Zealand has the zero tolerance to GMO as far as the producer. They cannot use inputs, even let's say a fish fertiliser, the enzyme that might be used to break down the carcass of the fish at the factory must not be made from GMOs, and yet they can be, so that they look that finely at it. So we're in a very good position. In New Zealand, theoretically, we still have legally, we have zero for importation of GM in seed or whatever coming into this country too. And people want to change that, but let's hold it.
We look at losing that too. If the TPP is signed, we look at losing our GM-free status.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. Grosser is our trade minister, and he has done some incredibly good work and has made it quite clear that they will not sign if New Zealand is disadvantaged. And acknowledging that we're only 4 million people, or 4.5 million, and we can't afford, as a nation, as an export nation that's totally dependent on our exports, to have a decent standard of living, to have anything come into this country by way of overseas agreements that leave us in a disadvantaged position.
So what did John Key sign the other day?
Shall we, excuse me, let's just talk about the fact that we hope our parliamentarians will protect us, and we also hope that, like Australia, we will withdraw from ISDS provisions. Now, getting back to our... can I talk now? I would just like you to know we are not testing for GMOs in any food in New Zealand today. So we need to question this urgently. I would also like to let you know, our minimum ADI for Roundup, which is glyphosate, is 0.3 milligrams per kilogram a day. It's the same as Europe. It's set at that from a 1981 private, hidden, secret, unpublished Monsanto study. Okay, so there has been so many studies since then that demonstrate danger and that demonstrate toxicity, but our regulatory agencies aren't looking at that. The last time our regulatory agencies looked at Roundup was in the 2009 discussion document, and that was supplied by Dow AgroScience, and it contains studies that Dow AgroScience selected. Since then, there have been dozens and dozens and dozens of studies in the world demonstrating toxicity, both to our cells, to our endocrine system, and to our neurological system. Our EPA has not looked at any of those. Because our system is broken, either our EPA is powerless or our EPA is negligent. I'm not sure which one it is. So what we need to understand is that we cannot care about Roundup if we don't eat sugar, sugar beet, wheat, barley, corn, soy, vegetable oils, lupins, I think potatoes. We cannot worry about Roundup. But this is what's in so much of the food our children eat. In the chippies they take to school, in the chocolate bars they have after school. And this is why, as parents, we really have to listen to these families. So, on that note, I know it's very late, you've been great staying for so long. My name's Jodie Browning. You can contact me, I'm a local person. If you have any further questions, I would love to talk. I can talk to you about Roundup until your ears drop off. But I also want you to know that the sprays, the fungicides on our wheat are 1,000 times more toxic to our cells than what our EPA actually looks at when we look at the weaker chemical. It's not just Roundup. This is a massive story. It's all the pesticides that are being assessed in our system are not being assessed correctly at the moment. So please pass the message on and please talk.
Thank you.
But as Claire said, the Food Matters Conference will be putting a lot of information up on their site from the speakers, and the speakers were absolutely incredible. I would like to say thank you very much, Dr. Michael Antonio, Dr. Michelle Taylor, and your team. You guys are